Coach Sully here. On this week's MatChat, what we're going to be talking about is the things that nobody talks about when it comes to positions of leadership, when it comes to mastery, when it comes to excellence, when it comes to achievement all the way across the board. Everyone looks at the highlight reel. Everyone looks at the end results. Everyone looks at the finish line. But there's a lot of things that happen behind the scenes that no one talks about. So for you guys who are aspiring to do big things in your life, to make big accomplishments happen, this is for you. This is to make you aware of the repetitiveness, the boring stuff that you have to do in order to achieve excellence. Now, first of all, me being a gym owner, a black belt Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and an instructor, an MMA coach, all of these things on the surface look like uh, accomplishments that that filled with moments to be proud of. And of course, I am proud of being able to run a high energy class, being able to coordinate a gym, getting notoriety in my gym. But there's a lot of things that happen behind the scenes that nobody really realizes. You know, the follow up phone calls, the consistent presence on social media, the conversations that need to happen, the the looking after the billing system. All of these things are things that are repetitive in nature or boring. And you have to get to the point where you almost are able to find some sort of wonder in the boredom. You have to really rewire yourself in order to find pleasure and fulfillment in the small tasks that need to add up and accumulate to become that end result of whatever it is that you're shooting for. I know when I first started to consider or think about opening up my own gym, the picture that I had in my head is completely different than the reality that exists now that I do have my own gym. I only looked at, running a nice, enjoyable, high energy class. That was the thing that I really focused on. But I didn't put the pieces together. I mean, I knew I had to get people to the class, but I figured, well, if you put it on the schedule, if you make a post on social media, people will know that it's going on and they will show up. And that's just not the case. It's a lot of follow up, it's a lot of reaching out, it's a lot of posting, consistent posting, repetitive posting. And you have to, because if you don't get to the point where these things become something that you get some sort of gratification from, it can really burn you out because it involves like a lot, now that I'm in it, I realize that, for example, teaching a class, that's just the tip of the iceberg. What facilitates me being able to teach a class are all of the little repetitive things that we spend hours on. Like you can use a fighter as an example. The time that they're spending in the cage is minutes compared to the hours, the days, the months that they put in and doing the work that nobody ever sees and no one ever asks about. But again, it's good to know what to expect when you're making these goals for yourself, when you're aspiring to do these things that on the surface look big. It all involves small things that you won't get credit for, you won't get any notoriety for, but they have to happen in order for you to be able to uh, get to the places and to see the things that you want to see happen in your life. Now, I always joke with people um, well, when I'm telling them about my martial arts journey. I know, and I know when I first started training, I thought that I was going to be, moving around town like a vigilante. Anybody, if I saw anybody messing with anybody, I would be the one to be like a superhero, like Batman, roaming around the city at night and standing up for the underdog and stopping crime. You have this glamorized vision of what, for example, a martial arts expert looks like. And really what ends up happening is that that vigilante lifestyle that you envision never happens. You actually get really, really good at avoiding fights. You don't, the confrontations that you're preparing for, and this is for those people who are looking into martial arts for self-defense, those things never happen. You you become really good at conflict resolution. You Your ego doesn't drive you to need to prove anything. So you end up letting a lot of stuff slide. And most people get into martial arts with the idea that, they're tired of letting things slide. Well, you're going to be letting a lot of things slide. And it's a good thing. It's not martial arts, conflict, confrontation. These things are dangerous things. And the best way to protect yourself is to not get involved with it in the first place. Um, and a lot of your presence, a lot of your greatness, if we want to use that word, has to do with your energy, has to do with how you relate to people. When you're doing something big, you find out quickly that it can't get done by itself and you need other people. So being able to exchange the right energy with people ends up being a skill set that you have to develop. All of our relations, all of our encounters with each other is an energy exchange. Even in the environment, we're exchanging energy. And we have to be able to filter energy, because just because you have solid energy doesn't mean that the person that you're encountering today is going to have solid energy. And when you're doing things at a higher level, you are dealing with more people. So you have to be good at making sure that those energy exchanges are solid. You have to be able to absorb maybe someone's off energy and even convert it back to them in a solid way. But that also means that you have to be aware of the type of energy that is coming, the type of energy in the room, the type of energy that you're giving out, and even assessing environments and figuring out if you're even able to influence the energy in an environment. So energy is one of those things that we have to be very, very aware of when we're talking about doing things and getting notoriety and becoming popular and helping people. Energy, even though it's a subtle thing, energy is going to play a huge part in how well you're able to navigate that path. And as you start to step into roles of leadership, as you start to be an example, as people start looking up to you, you realize that what you're doing, what you're becoming, is greater than just you. You realize that you are as great as the community that you represent. You realize that you cannot do everything. And that's a big part of doing things that are significant is being able to locate the right people to help you, being able to rally up people to move in a particular direction. The leader is not particularly good at everything. The leader knows where they fall short, and they know how to find the people to fill in those spots. And then they find out also that there's going to be a lot of things that you can't do on your own. When you're stepping out front, you realize that you're only as strong as the people that are behind you. So your community is more important than the leadership role that you're filling. As a matter of fact, you want to train others, show others how to take your position, how to fill your position, how to do the tasks that you do. You know, a good leader is the one who knows their limitations. A good leader is the one who can replace and create other leaders. Now, we have to also understand that a huge thing that limits our growth is staying in survival mode. And this is one that, in order for you to create, in order for you to build, you have to be in a creative state. And you cannot do that from survival mode. When you're in survival mode, and a lot of us live in survival mode perpetually, but when we're in survival mode, our nervous system is only concerned about the danger, about immediate danger, and about keeping us safe. Now, there's nothing wrong with survival mode. As a matter of fact, survival mode is very necessary for us to survive. But it's when we're in a perpetual state of survival mode, that's when we block our creativity, because you can't be creating and surviving at the same time. So, for example, if I'm worried about a tiger crashing down the door and coming to attack me, I can't finish the poem that I was working on. I need to focus on the problem. But the thing is that we mistake a lot of the obstacles that are in front of us as immediate problems, and we cut off the creativity that we need in order to get over those obstacles. When you're stepping up and when you're taking on these endeavors, when you're trying to make something great out of your life, that's going to require creativity. You cannot do that in survival mode. So you have to get really good at calming down. If we want to make it simple, keep it basic. You have to be really good at telling your nervous system that everything is going to be okay so you can create. Because if you don't get yourself out of survival mode, you can never accomplish anything great. And that, I think, is one of the most overlooked things that people miss when it comes to trying to make something out of their life. They think that they can do it in survival mode. They think that they can do it focusing on the problems that are in front of them. They think that they can risk manage it. And you have to, at some point, stop trying to survive and start living. You have to some point operate from the standpoint of building as opposed to maintaining. And survival mode is one of the biggest things that kills our creativity when we're trying to build. Now, when we're able to do the tasks that nobody notices, when we're able to dictate the energy that's transferring between us and everybody in the environment around us, we can then become someone that the community trusts, that the community wants to see succeed. We can become someone that people want to see win. Because like I said before, when we're trying to step up, we can't prop ourselves up. We need the support of the people around me, of around the people that surround us, and we need the support of the people that we represent. So we have to give those people something that they benefit from. People will support you when you support them. People will wish you well and help you do well when they see that same energy being reciprocated from you. So a lot of times we see the person that's on top, we see the person that has the spotlight, and we think that that person is standing on their own. No, that means that there's a lot of people that want to see that person succeed, that want to see that person win. When you see somebody that's winning, it's because they have support from others that allows them to win. So, yes, there are a lot of perks that come with stepping up front. There are a lot of perks that come with doing great things, but it involves a lot of things that we overlook. It involves a lot of repetitive things, a lot of attention to detail, a lot of attention to the people that we are coming in contact with. It involves consideration for the people that we're dealing with. We have to treat every relationship like it's our last relationship. And when we can do all of the small tasks that are required in order to do something great, then we can achieve greatness. But the key is, and I think that the way that we can make it doable is that we have to find some sort of gratification out of doing those small tasks. And I think that that happens realistically when you start to see some results, when you can put the pieces together and say, wow, I did this every day, this boring thing every day, blindly, but now I see the results. That motivates you and shows you the importance of doing those small tasks. When you smiled at somebody and treated someone nicely when you didn't have to, and then that person surfaces months later and becomes your biggest supporter, you start to realize that these things add up, these things accumulate, and you see the value in doing the things that nobody sees, the things that nobody talk about, in order to achieve the greatness that you're after. All right, guys, gotta run. Coach Sully, Reps and Sweat, Frederick, Maryland. This was MatChat.